Hey everyone, my name is Nick. Behind me is my 1990 Lincoln Town Car, and it's time to put it up for sale. Let me walk you around and show you a bit about this car and what's happened to it during my nearly decade long of ownership. This car I purchased in December 2015 up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I bought it from the grandson who I guess inherited this from his grandparents that were in Pennsylvania, and this was their vehicle that they used behind their camper. Every winter in Ohio, they would head south to Florida with this thing, and then after things had thawed back up in Ohio, they would bring it back up with their camper. Seems like a pretty big vehicle to be doing that with, but it does explain why it only had, I think, 90,000 miles at the time that I purchased it. So during my 9 years of ownership, this thing it's done quite a few trips here and there. Originally, my intention was to use this car as just something to commute with, and by commuting to just work and back, that was really it. I will say it did unfortunately get hit on this door. Somebody just grazed the door, so this door did have to get repainted here from somebody, but that was the only incident during my time with it. And mileage right now, which I just realized I did not indicate, is at 117,000 miles, maybe about 118 here. But yeah, this is a really straight, really clean car. It's done me a lot of good service over the years, but I also put a lot into it to be able to do that, because this is now a 34-year-old car, and when I bought it, it was 25, so it needed some stuff. So right after I purchased it from the grandson, who drove it from, gosh, I was considering the sticker on there, it says 11. He drove it for 3 or 4 years in Charlotte, North Carolina for his commute, back and forth to work. And what I can say, at least during my ownership, I resealed the engine. I did the intake gaskets, valve cover gaskets, oil pan gasket, timing cover, crank seal, etc. Plus I did spark plugs. I did take off the cylinder heads because there was a note. I remember him telling me about where the car overheated one day on him in traffic, and just to be preemptive and safe, I decided to take the heads off and go get them checked at a machine shop in Columbia, South Carolina. The place is Satterfield Machine Shop, which has a really, really good reputation. And they did end up resurfacing the cylinder heads just a tiniest fractional amount, and I put them back on with new head gaskets, and gosh, I've driven it. I did that right after I bought it, so this is now done 27,000 miles. That's a pretty good ride. Along with that, I ended up doing tons and tons of work here. I'm just going to go ahead and we'll start out with that highlight and the maintenance factor and repair work on this car. Under the hood of this thing, I never had to do anything in terms of like replacing the AC compressor. I did put a new clutch coil, pulley, etc. on it, so that's fine. I replaced the fittings, charged it up, holds for ages and ages, and it's super duper cold. I upgraded the alternator from the 2G style that is unfortunately known for catching on fire. Just the design of it is really, really not great, which is this pin fitment. So this has a very, very common upgrade that people do on older Ford products to this newer style alternator, so you don't have that issue. I don't want to be stuck on the side of the road. Otherwise, I did put in a map sensor back over here on the brake system. I didn't have to do anything else with the ignition. The plug wires were already done. I did plugs. TFI is fine. The thick film ignition module distributor was fine. So brake system, I did master cylinder, booster, as well as the calipers up front, pads and the rotors with the integrated bearing and stuff. So that was new, repacked with grease. In the rear, I did the wheel cylinders and the shoes. And very recently, I actually did the parking brake cables. So this car is a phenomenal, like this probably has the best brake pedal out of all the vehicles I own. It's a nice firm high pedal and it responds really well. Cooling system, hoses, radiator, thermostat, water pump. Did not need to do a heater core. Heater core was fine on this and continues to be throwing out fire from the vents. It's super duper hot, so no problem there. But I did do all the hoses. I did delete the thermal shutoff valve. So this valve is made of plastic and it's integrated onto the heater hose on these 5-liter engines, all the 80s and the first year of 1990. And I guess also the Grand Marquis and Crown Vic for 91. But that aside, that T is made of plastic. The plastic will rupture and then you blow out your coolant. All it's doing is shutting off the blower motor until your car reaches a certain temperature. Well, I can do that myself. I don't need the car doing that, and I certainly don't need plastic blowing off. So that we said adios to. And otherwise, I did take off the pulley and I put a smaller belt on. I got rid of the air pump on this because the air pump was not locked up, but it doesn't rotate very nicely. The catalytic converters are all still here and the air injection tubes, but that pipe is, the pump is not doing anything. Otherwise, on the steering system, did I do anything? Oh, that's right, I forgot on the belt system. I put on new belts and a new belt tensioner pulley. Over here I did a new power steering pump and a pressure line. Box is fine. New IAC. Yeah, so that's steering system wise. I didn't really have to do a whole lot. I will mention that the upper control arm bushings on this car, I mean they are original. I don't know if it's really going to show there. So you can see the rubber's tiniest bit dry, but everything's greased and fine. My alignment guy, when he did the alignment 15,000 miles ago, said, yeah, the next time you get an alignment, you really should just add on control arm bushings. You can kind of see they're just starting to crack. So it's something to keep in mind. Oh yeah, I put on new hoses when I did that brake work. But it rides down the road fine. I put on 4 new shocks just recently because the old ones were worn out. The air suspension system on this does work. I put it back on. The prior person had deleted it. So it does have 2, I forget the brand of bag, but so got 2 bags in here. The air pump works, holds the car up. It doesn't, there's really nothing to note there. Otherwise on the rear end, just trying to think. I did put on axle shafts, bearings, and seals, resealed the cover, so that's solid and in good shape. Put on 4 new tires. I think you can see the date code on them somewhere. Yeah, 11th week of 2024. All the lights here at the front work. They're nicely aimed so you can actually see as much as you can with this technology from the 90s. Wiper blades, they're in good shape. Trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I don't think there is under the hood here. So we'll go ahead and close things up here. And otherwise, glass is all nice, no cracks. I just left the old Pennsylvania inspection sticker on just to let it hang out. Although I see here, I need to remove that piece of paper. I forgot to take that out. Oops. Yeah, I think the only thing I noticed on the glass here, and it was, you can just barely see it. There's a scratch in the glass right here. It's just so hard to get it with this lighting. But it has no effect on what you're doing when you're driving, etc. It's all completely visible. Otherwise, outside here, I just recently had to put on a new starter, and you obviously saw the alternator. So those have been replaced and they work quite well. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I put on a new fan clutch back in the day. So that is taken care of. It did get the common grommet for the TV cable, for the transmission, the throttle valve that controls your trans pressure, because these are not electronically controlled transmissions. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing that just came to mind here is the exhaust. I did a complete catback exhaust replacement because these 5 liters still used an all steel exhaust. So I don't know what the heck Ford was thinking, but anyway, so it has new H pipe. Well, it was new in 2016. Yeah, 2016. So it has new mufflers, H pipe, and tail pipes coming out the back. So that is all covered. We'll go ahead and show the underneath. See what things look like under here. We still have some sunlight. Definitely not some rotted out old car. It has very much nice, clean, no holes in the rockers. Frame's nice and strong. No splits, cracks, holes in it that are not obviously these are factory holes for access. But you can see things are super clean under here. And same looking back here. Ow. Yep, knee is still sore. Nice and clean. Typical spots that these like to rust here. Nothing. They like to rust out here. As you can see, nothing. It's nice and clean metal. You can see also clean under there. You also see the new parking brake cables that I forgot to mention there earlier. NOS cables. Yeah, because you made those to pass inspection. So I think that is all out here. You've seen the under. Okay, so doing a walk around outside. We'll start over here at this corner of the car. Just as a note, when I bought this car originally, this thing had no paint on the horizontal surfaces. It was all faded. So I had this repainted 9 years ago. And at this point in its life, unfortunately the paintwork is, well, it's kind of at the point it needs it again. It just doesn't have the luster. The fade is really starting to show in places. And I've tried using product partly known as like Poppy's Patina, shiny car stuff, just to give it a little bit more time, but it's not anything that's going to last. You can see there's just places where the clear, maybe the sun, just it's really done its number on it, unfortunately. I'm not going to sit here and walk around and show all the cosmetic flaws, but you'll just get an idea here. These are not Bondo panels or something. It's a little finger of paint that I'm not sure what happened there. But lenses are at least all intact. You can see a little touch-up spot there. I can't remember what happened with that, but that was years ago. I'm sure somebody opened their car door into me at work or something. You can see up in the roof here, the paint's pretty faded. It's really faded. I'll certainly try to put another application of that stuff on here, see if that gives it any more luster to it, at least buy it a little more time. But it's pretty faded up here. Looking down the sides, this door is this was the door that only got repainted just from somebody just grazed against the door and they had to pay to get it fixed. And it looks like somebody, oh, that's nice. Something there. Otherwise, around back, nice to see a leaf decided to just randomly show up. Looking down the back here, all your badges and emblems and stuff are here. This chrome piece likes to usually fall off on these, but not a problem on this one. The lenses, there's no damage or cracks in any of these lenses. They're still all undamaged. They look really, really good. Even the back bumper. Considering you have an 18-foot long car, you'd think things would look a little worse back here with banging into stuff, but there's just the tiniest little something right here. That's really minimal. Yeah, it's in good shape. And looking around on this side here, the sun beaming down. Again, you can see that there's stuff popping through in the paintwork here, and this is just going to be all over the car, unfortunately. If you are looking for perfection, this is not it, but if you want something just nice driver quality, this is definitely a worthy candidate. You can hopefully see some of that in the paintwork there. There's all these little dots and stuff. Trying to think if there was much else. I don't think anything to note really on this door. Nothing really much to say. I apologize with the sun. This is a hard time of year to film. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it here. See if I can get some other angles so you can kind of see in the paint. Again, lenses up front, there's no cracks, all the bulbs work. The hood ornament still hanging out, hasn't broken off or anything. So yeah, okay. So let's hop inside and take a look at things in here. Okay, I figured I should reposition the car. The sun was just making it tough to see anything. So, opening the door, this is your typical mid-trim car, or an executive would even have this with an optional package. But this is a signature series Lincoln Town Car. So you do have power seats and locks, windows, mirrors, chrome handle. Unfortunately, I will mention, this is common on these in the South, where the glue, etc., that was used to make this pull strap starts oozing out. But you can see it's pretty much like a brick, but I can't find any chemical to clean it, so unfortunately that's how it's going to be. Otherwise, looking around inside of here, you can see these black leather seats, signature series. These are in really good shape for 34 years old. Wow, hard to believe. Only bit that's a little odd in this, these were like this when I got this car, and I'm not sure what happened here. Like, did something spill on it and it just shrunk the leather? Because why else would it be like that? This one's in great shape, but this one just, it's got a weird little texture to it. It's kind of like it's very firm, but the rest of this is still nice and soft. I did put on headrests out of like a Mark 7, I believe it was. Unfortunately, they're dark blue, but you can't really tell. I just like them because you can rotate them forward. Always thought that was kind of neat. Made it more comfortable. Do have 3-point seat belts up front. Have the center seat belt and receptacle hanging out. Obviously, Nick needs to clean there because I just saw that. Looking otherwise inside the car, this is typical 90 to 94 Lincoln Town Car dashboard. It's got a, unfortunate little crack there, but that's what the dash mat will cover up, and it'll still look nice. A-pillar trim still looks good. It's not falling off. Have your sun visors here. And you have the sun visor here. And these map lights here. If I close the door, turn these on. This moonroof, controls here. So you can see it still opens up. Always like these big sunroofs. Excuse me, moonroof. Moonroofs are glass. Sunroofs are metal. Looking around inside of here, automatic headlights with the delay, auto dim range. This thing does have the connection for the automatic high beam dimmer, but unfortunately when I got this car, the mirror was just dangling by these. And when I went to a windshield shop, I asked them, hey, can you put on a new button? They said, oh, sure, we got a button right here. And they glued it on, but apparently Ford changed the button width in the 90s, and this one was already on. So I just got a mirror at the junkyard. Apparently a lot of these manual mirrors that have the flip tab from the early 90s, they start delaminating, and not sure what you can do with that. So I just found one that's not really hooked up. If you are so looking for it, these just kind of hang out back here. But I do have the mirror in the trunk with the button. Otherwise, looking over here, date and time, I haven't apparently set this. I guess I forgot about that with the time change. The climate control here, this thing still blows frosty, cold air. And talk is cheap, but I wish I could comment about how refreshingly cold this air is. Well, I say refreshing, it's 50 degrees outside, but this feels really good right now. Nice and cold. If I were to move this over to, we'll put it on vent and move it all the way to hot, heat. Oh yeah, I can already feel it. Yep, nice hot heat. But the automatic feature works, and these are common to get all floppy and you have a hard time controlling. You'll notice they're not broken. So that's pretty nice to see. Fuel door popper. You can see some of the trim stuff's coming off, but it's no big deal. Rear defrog does work. This has a radio from a 90, I think it's a 93 town car, because the 90 to 92 radios are super finicky. And unfortunately, the one person I knew that repaired them is no longer in business. So too bad, but you do have a functioning radio here. Works pretty good. And I forgot to mention the power antenna also works. So if I hit the power button, you can see it also goes right back into its home. So that's pretty cool. Horn works. And these are pretty basic cars, so not a lot else to say over on this side. You have your typical power window, power lock, and your seat control. Speaking of locks, if I hit the lock switch, you can see they all work. Up front, I put this in from a 92.5 or 93 newer town car. Unfortunately, these phone things are just starting to fall off, but it says soft cups only. It does have an ashtray which you could take out, and I just use that for my phone. But it's another place. Glove box. I do have some extra little pieces that I had with the car. This is your trunk release. We'll take a look at that, because I don't think there's much else to show inside of this car on this side. Anything back here, ashtray, mat pockets, black leather seats, nice shape, armrest. Yeah, and these are 3-point seat belts in the back, except in the middle it has just a regular lap belt. Fuel door, unleaded gas only. Looking in the trunk, you can see this absolutely huge trunk. Do have your air ride cutoff switch over here. Apologize for my cleaning supplies. It does have a lug wrench and the jack. You can see the amplifier for the JBL and the subwoofer box. The factory JBL. Do have the spare tire. That is right there. This is the cover that's supposed to hide it so you can't see it. As I mentioned earlier, the headrests. These headrests, I don't know why they weren't in that great a shape in the car anyways. So took those out and put in the ones that you saw, but they are here if you so want them. This is the mirror I was speaking of earlier. You can see the button that held it on. It is still there. This is the headlamp dimmer that sits underneath the mirror and looks out. It kind of screws on to the bottom, you can see right there. But that mirror doesn't have a hookup for it. I do have a front plate bracket that was in here for a 90, so if you need that, it is there. And you can pull this and it'll pop it. Anyways, put that back in its home. But huge trunk, has the automatic pull down where you just set it down, clicks itself back into place. You also do have the typical trunk lock, which Otherwise, I think there's no other accessories over here. You can see over here, do have the lighter, ashtray, which nobody clearly ever used. Anything else? I don't think so. These little switches are what control the door on-off functionality. And looking up front here, like I mentioned earlier, the seat controls, locks, windows, etc. Which I'll demonstrate those in a minute. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to say, except, excuse me, the seat does move. All kinds of positions. You can't get comfortable, you're doing something wrong. All right, so moving back over here. I believe I also forgot to demonstrate. Seat does move. Moves that way. Does that. Does that. So it's all your functions work. Window. That window. That window, that window. What about this one? Yep, so got all your windows, your locks, mirrors, sunroof. It is all there. So let me grab a few pictures here before I lose the sun and be right back for driving. One thing I forgot to mention, I added on a remote keyless system from a 93 town car in this vehicle. One of my friends, Kevin in Chicago, helped me do that, gosh, years ago. So I'll show you. What you can end up doing is works like anything else. You can hear that. If I hit the trunk button, pretty cool. So nice to have that. These came out in 93. Okay, so you can see 117,000 miles. I'll fill up the gas. But fully warmed up, it's been running for, gosh, an hour now. Down there you can see the e-brake is on. And one thing I can do, if I put the brake on and throw it in drive, pop, it's ready to go. So pretty cool. See, you can see looking out over the dash, you can maybe see some more about what I mean on the paint. It's kind of faded. This isn't a 117,000 mile garage kept car. Unfortunately, it's seen sun, but otherwise it's in mechanically phenomenal shape. I would have absolutely no hesitation driving this car anywhere. I don't care at all, because this car actually, I've taken it, let's see here, Florida, Georgia, obviously South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New York. I'm trying to think, have I been anywhere else with this thing? No, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, no, I did forget something. It's been to Ontario, Canada. It actually went to Toronto and back. You can see I went to watch Red Green years 2019 before he wrapped up his series on the television. Don't know why I still have that, but I just remembered seeing that earlier in the collection. So you can see this car goes down the road great. I will say I put in a different shifter from a newer model. The 9091 shifters, they're missing like a shim or something, and allows them to be kind of floppy. And they fixed it on 92. So you have a tighter feeling shifter, and it's not the shifter bushings on the shifter tube. So it gives you a nice, better feel. So this button's not really hooked up. It doesn't do anything. Oh well. But you can put it down in D if you do not want overdrive. So it floats over the gears. It floats over the speed bumps, no problem. And it better, considering I put on 4 new shocks. Go ahead and get ready to put it into fourth because we'll go out into the interstate. So we'll head north here. There it goes into fourth. Hit the brakes. Slows down without issue. Of course, the sun is glaring in your eye. I'm going to put it on the floor. Sounds like a Mustang. So, no problem. Luckily, you have cruise control, so you can, once you're at speed, you set it and let it do its thing. As you can see, my feet are not on the gas. So it does that just fine. Not sure there's a whole lot else to mention about the driving dynamics of this. As you can see, it goes down the road, nice and straight, no tugging or jerking on the steering wheel. Again, you can turn on the climate control and it works too. Feels pretty good to me. Yeah, kind of feels about right. Anything else? Don't think so. We'll just continue on down the road here and do another few miles. Well, as I head back towards my house, I figured I would just mention again, still not having any issues. Mileage, as you can see, has gone up some as the distance to empty goes down, which, oh, this still works too, I think, except the temperature. Yeah, that is not accurate. -38, no. But that's actually common on these 90 to 94. It's common for them to have something on the circuit board, but oh well. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me and I'll be happy to answer anything further. And thank you so much for watching.